First thing I want to say is that there's a sweet spirit in this place. I felt it when I walked in. And you can't have a sweet spirit unless there's a soulfulness. You see, I come from a soulful people. And soul ain't nothing but the sharing of a soothing sweetness against the backdrop of a grim catastrophe. And the catastrophes take a number of different forms. But you have to be clear and candid and honest about speaking directly about the catastrophes and never reduce the catastrophes to a problem. Catastrophes are catastrophes. You see, there's 4 fundamental questions for any serious wrestling of he or she who decides to raise their voice and speak directly about various forms of catastrophe. The first is, how shall integrity face oppression? And integrity has to do with what? Digging very deep in the dark corners of your own soul and straightening your back up and having the courage to speak honestly about catastrophe. The second question is, what is honesty do in the face of deception, of lies and high crimes? And we're living in a moment where the lies are being exposed, the veil is being ripped off, and those lies and high crimes mean that sooner or later, as the great Malcolm X used to say, chickens come home to roost. You're going to reap what you sow. Truth crushed the earth shall rise again, and the condition of truth is to allow suffering to speak. This is an unprecedented moment. It's a pivotal moment in the history of Houston, the history of Texas, the history of the American Empire, the history of the world. And what is so pivotal about it? Because something is happening. Paradigms are collapsing. Frameworks are melting. People are waking up. And they look at American politics. American politics has been for so long 2 parties tied to Wall Street and war. $8 trillion spent on war since 2001 in Iraq. And yet when it comes to health care and education and jobs with a living wage and adequate housing, we can't find a penny. That's more priority. That's been the work. Where you can find money for massive incarceration to put my brothers and sisters disproportionately black and brown and indigenous. You can find big money for that. You can find money for the police. How come you don't talk about the abolition of poverty the way this campaign does? How come you don't talk about the abolition of homelessness the way this campaign does? How come you don't talk about jobs the way this campaign does? Why don't you be honest about your organized greed and your institutionalized hatred and your routinized indifference? And the great Rabbi Hesher used to say what? Indifference to evil is more insidious than evil itself. That's true. It could be the suffering in Houston. It could be the suffering on the border. It could be the suffering where I live in Harlem, New York. It could be the suffering in Lagos. But right now, the fundamental litmus test of the precious Palestinian children and women and men who are undergoing not just a crime against humanity, not just a war crime, but a crime of genocide. It has a distinctive quality to it. If you would think there would be voices in every corner of Congress, every corner of the Democratic Party, every corner of the country, where are those voices? I come from a people whose anthem is lift every voice, not lift every echo. You got a lot of echoes and silos. All you have to do is listen to the politicians. Well, I think I might use the word ceasefire sooner or later. Let me check and see how things are going. Let's see what the polls say. No, we want to know what you believe deep down in your gut. We don't want to know what your brand is. What kind of commitment do you have to a cause? A brand ain't nothing but a market strategy to help you get along with your next career and your next election. The cause is something deeper. What are you willing to sacrifice for? What kind of burden are you willing to bear? What kind of voice are you willing to bring to bear as it relates to catastrophe. Now see, I come from the blues people. The blues is about catastrophe. B.B. King say, nobody loves me but my mama, and she might be driving too. I mean, we laugh, but that's like Sophocles' Antigone, isn't it? That's catastrophe. All the forces in the world against you, and you thought your mama was with you, and you find out she might be driving too. B.B., what you talking about? But in the face of a catastrophe is what? A voice, a smile, joy, freedom dream. Catastrophe never having the last word. We're here in part because what is happening in Gaza is creating new paradigms and new frameworks, not just in Houston, not just in Texas, not just in the American empire, but all around the world. People are seeing the lies, they're seeing the crimes, they're seeing the lack of integrity. I was reading the other day, Biden talking about, well, in private, I'm very deeply concerned about the civilians. You don't say. Please, we were born at night, but not last night. 14,000 precious Palestinian children already gone, and you sitting around talking in private about you are concerned about protecting civilians. Quit lying. Say what you mean and mean what you say. Speak from your heart. This is not about politics. This is not about electoral calculation. We're talking about precious human beings made in the image and likeness of a great God. You don't even use electoral strategy as your brain when you're talking about human beings, especially innocent children. That's what has been missing in American politics. And I come from a legacy of Martin King, Fannie Lou Hamer, and Edward Said, Rabbi Heschel, Malcolm X, Curtis Mayfield, John Coltrane, and Aretha Franklin. The artists mean much to me. And they go hand in hand with the morality and spirituality in this moment of barbarity. That's why the paradigms are collapsing. That's why the frameworks are melting. That's why the establishment in the Republican Party collapsed. And the neo-fascist named Donald Trump took over. Donald Trump's been a bona fide gangster for 45 years. I met him in the casino 45 years ago. He's exactly the same person. No development, no maturation, no breakthroughs whatsoever. What you see is what you get. He's never acted as if he's got integrity, honesty, decency, no whatsoever. He's been a gangster consistently. And yet 91 counts can still be leading in the election based on the polls. I don't know who these pollsters are calling. Have any of you all received a call from a pollster? So it must be on other parts of town. He's leading the country toward a second civil war. Hatred, revenge. And then Biden says, I'm not the almighty, I'm the alternative. I said, my dear brother, let's take a good look at you. The architect of mass incarceration has bragged about it for 30 years. Those are my brothers and sisters in that barbaric slave, the barbaric prison system. Bailing out Wall Street rather than homeowners with Brother Obama. Wall Street executives engage in crimes, insider trading, market manipulation, predatory lending, fraudulent activities. How many Wall Street executives went to jail? None. Zero. Let any poor working person, black or brown, but any color, get caught with some drugs. Straight to jail. Double standards, hypocrisy across the board. And then my dear brother Biden had a nerve to say he wants to redeem the soul of the nation. That is precisely the same motto that Martin Luther King Jr. used when he founded the Southern Christian Leadership Conference in New Orleans, April 1957. to redeem the soul of the nation. You're going to use Martin Luther King Jr.'s language? Who said that a Vietnamese baby has the same value as an American baby? If you're going to use his language, Biden, if you believe that a Palestinian baby, as I do, has exactly the same value as any other baby in the world, an Israeli baby, Iranian baby, Ethiopian baby, a Guatemalan baby, a Texan baby, a Mexican baby, then you wouldn't have to worry about being so late in talking about protecting innocent civilians. You don't believe it in your heart. And everybody knows of those were European babies and European innocent civilians. Everybody knows of those were precious Jewish babies and Jewish civilians. The U.S. government would have a qualitatively different response. That's the kind of racism I have no patience for whatsoever. And never will. Never will. That's not a matter of electoral politics. It's a matter of morality and spirituality that has political consequences, but doesn't begin with politics. Because if you begin with politics, you will only listen to the folk who have big money, big power, and will say to the rest of us, you have no choice. You have no other options. You have no other alternatives. Well, I come from a black people who have been told 400 years that Pharaoh is on both sides of the bloody Red Sea. That's a serious situation, isn't it? You can imagine folk in the back seat saying, I think it's time for somebody to sing a song. It's time for somebody to pray. It's time for somebody to grab their child and hug them and remember the sparkle in their eye of their grandmother and grandfather and say, we got something that the powers that be can never take away. We just can't find a way out. And right now we have this choice of Republican, Civil War #2, Democrats, World War III, beginning in the Middle East, but maybe Russia and Ukraine, maybe with China and Taiwan, and 62 cents for every $1 in the discretionary budget going to the military. That's what it is to live in an empire. It reminds me of the Roman Empire that began to decay and decline owing to military overreach abroad, corruption of elites, no alternative for citizens feeling powerless and hopeless. And then here comes the tyrannical Pied Piper saying, I will restore order. Thank you, Mr. Julius Caesar. Cato's going to kill himself. Cicero runs out of gas. And Spartacus tries to engage in insurgency, but each and every one of them are executed. I don't believe history repeats itself. But we can learn from the past. There's been 70 empires in the history of the species. The United States is number 68. And every empire comes and goes when it no longer accents the best of itself. And this campaign is trying to reintroduce to America the best of itself, and it begins with Martin King and Fannie Lou Hamer and those white vote. It begins with courageous persons who raise their voices and say, we want the truth. Allow the suffering to speak. We want justice, and justice is what love looks like in public, and therefore we want to be full of empathy for anybody who suffers, no matter what color or gender or national identity. But at the moment, the litmus test is genocide in Gaza. And if you can't meet that litmus test, then all else that you have to present is empty and fatuous. It's sounding brass and teaching from Lord. And already the attacks are beginning, very intense. And it's always a good sign. I feel that I'm highly complimented when I receive vicious attacks, because I have a calling, not a brain. I have a deep commitment to a cause, not just a career. living under death threats for the last 35 years, so it doesn't bother me. I'm a Jesus-loving free black man in the way in which you all are Allah-loving free black men and women. You get freed up when you have a relationship with something bigger. You get freed up when you feel as if you're doing exactly what you've been called to do. Not in the spirit of self-righteousness, but you find joy in the struggle. You find joy in a love even as you are doing something that seems to have a chance of a snowball in hell. But lo and behold, you step out on nothing and land on something. That's what faith is. That's what deep, deep faith is. In this campaign, it will never be destroyed by the threats. In the same way that this particular body that I have may go, but the spirit will never be destroyed, because truth, because justice, because love, in the end, will never go out of style. And there'll always be a cloud of witnesses who will come after. So this campaign ain't nothing but a moment in the movement trying to be soulful with a sharing sweetness against backdrops of catastrophe. That's what it is. And we do it with a smile. We do it with joy. It's difficult because we broke the 10 Commandments financially. We don't have a lot of flow. See, $27 million. Even Brother RFKJR got $27 million. How does he got $27 million? It's not his money. Who is giving him money? Well, we discovered some of the Trump people giving him 14 each packs and so forth. No, we're poor people's campaign. We got organized people. We got strong spirit. We got strong vision. But we do need some money. No doubt about that. But the moment in which that money becomes idolatrous, the moment in which that money becomes the very thing that determines what you think and what you do and how you act and how you laugh and how you love, your campaign is over. And you become just another garden variety political project. At this particular historical moment, we don't need garden variety politics. We need new paradigms and new frameworks. We need new visions. The younger generation understands this very, very well. And it's up to us to be examples to our precious young people, because they know they're living in an unprecedented moment. They know this is a pivotal moment. And they're wondering, okay, Mom, okay, Dad. Maybe we got some grandparents in here too like me. Okay, Granddad, okay, Grandma. What are you going to do at this moment? Where do you stand on genocide? Where do you stand on U.S. foreign policy? Where do you stand on justice as it relates to poor and working people around the world? Where do you stand on those issues that will define the times here and many, many years to come? And the question becomes, can we do it? It's an open question. Depends how much integrity, honesty, courage we really have. And history is always unpredictable, incomplete, and unfinished. What we do in the present determines what happens in the future. And so it's a beautiful thing to be able to come together. And I can grant you this, that to the degree to which the mainstream, including the Democratic Party, more and more see deep solidarity of black people, of brown people, of courageous, visionary people of all colors, with Muslims, and Arabs, and Palestinians. They don't know what to do. They do not know what to do. And we tell them, this is not a question of ordinary politics. We're not just talking about interest. We're talking about humanity. We're talking about people who deserve to be free. We're talking about Palestinian dignity and Palestinian equality. We're talking about creating a Palestine in which life can flourish, so that apartheid, so that ethnic cleansing, so that genocide has absolutely no presence whatsoever. And we don't stop there. We go to other parts of the country, of the world, but we begin there at the moment because of the litmus test that it is. So much depends on ourselves. And I can simply say to you that as a jazz man, I'm going to go down fighting and swinging. Swinging for the children, swinging for the innocent ones, swinging for those whose humanity is so often rendered invisible, even in the corporate media. Why? Because it's right, because it's moral, and because it's just. And then the political consequences flow. That's what this gathering is all about. Thank you all for being so kind. Thank you for being present. Thank you for being so kind.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number 1, subscribe to our channel, and number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.